Hey everybody, my name is Heather Lake Bays. I'm coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana, from my home recording studio, which is just kind of a glorified closet, my daughter's old closet with, you can see stuffed animals that help tamp the sound, along with my microphone here that has my chaotic eyeball on it, which is some of the equipment I use, my piano, my speakers. I record demos a lot of the day here in the studio for various show choir arrangers. I am a session vocalist. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. I have been recording for publishers and film, television, video game scores. Disney just recently finished up a new project for Disney called World of Color. They're re-releasing that. I spend my life sight reading choral music, and it is great and I love it. But one of my favorite parts of what I do is being a show choir judge, clinician, and private instructor for solo comps for solos within a show. And I have been judging since 2011. So this is my 11th year judging show choir. I've done it all over the nation for some of the greatest competitions, East Coast, Midwest, Iowa, so much fun, and have recorded a lot of the demos for really great choral arrangers. But my favorite part is really working with your students, both in a clinic setting, for choral vocals. I have a music education degree. I did not use that traditionally in a school besides subbing. I went right into becoming a professional singer, but I've spent my whole time singing choral music of all various genres, from classical, legit, all the way down to kids, two-part, to for every major publisher, Alfred, Hal Leonard, Shawnee Press. Well, Hal Leonard owns pretty much everything, but that's what I spend a large portion of my time doing. I'm also a recording artist and performer that travels the country performing with pop symphonies and various jazz clubs and cabarets. So I'm super excited though, because one of the favorite things I do, one of my favorite parts of being a professional singer and musician, is working with show choir. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, outside of Detroit, and the, just put it this way, I'm old. Anyway, it was when show choir really wasn't much of a thing. Madrigal groups were more the upper echelon of your choirs. And show choirs were for like not very serious schools, you know. It was sort of looked down upon for schools that didn't have actual musicians. So I came into the show choir world sort of thinking, what is this? Do I really want to do this? Sure, I'll judge. And the very first competition, I fell in love with it. And I realized it reminded me a lot of marching band. The combination of the physical exertion on top of a really commitment to complex rhythms, and then just the team aspect of just the excitement. And I was hooked, and I absolutely freaking love show choir. I love working with the students. I love the team aspect. I just love the love that the kids have for the music, for the performing, for the artistic expression. I love that anyone can be a part of show choir, from some kid who's never, maybe they can't sing Latin or German or French. They've never taken a voice lesson. They've never been in choir, but they enjoy moving their bodies, or they enjoy being part of a group. I love this part of doing my job. So I'm so honored that Damon had me. I think I mentioned my name, Heather Lake Bays, but I'm super honored to be here with you guys today and just sharing a little bit about what I know about judging solos within a show and solo comp. I spent a large time of my judging large group vocals. That's still the majority of the judging that I do. But I want to speak to that, since a lot of what I do is singing solo work, and being a solo professional musician. I have people ask me in Nashville, what are you doing? Why do you do that? And I can't explain that. Just working with students on how to express themselves in a solo. I do lots of clinics around the country with solo comp kids, and some in town here for various schools, and then clinics with the big group chorals. And one of the things as a recording artist that and a musician sight reading is the combination of both musicianship and artistry, and trying to help students with their voices combine both of those, along with pedagogical understanding of how to create good breath support, good tone, resonance, and mixing all of that together. I want to speak specifically about how I judge solo comps and what my process for that is, and what I think the most important parts of that are, what the most important elements of being a good solo comp, solo within a show judge, and why that it has a bearing on the greater part of group vocals. So one of the things I initially do with every competition that I'm a part of is I observe the sheets and I make a determination. Some of the schools use just very generic, 4 or 5 categories. Some have, 15, 20. Initially, I look to see what is their largest category. So where is the point spread? Is the point spread more pedagogically on vowel placement, resonance, intonation, rhythm, breath support? If that is where the larger part of the scoring sheet, the larger weight, I definitely pay attention to whatever that is from competition to competition. And I determine, because I really work for the school, not for myself. I work for that school, and that what they believe is most important is most important. So I will really, meet that out as soon as I look at the scoring sheet and decide where the point spreads are. Oftentimes schools with solo comp, a lot of the point spreads have a lot to do with artistry and presentation and just general ability to perform and interpret things like dynamics, phrasing, artistic expression, the choice of song. So I do that first. The second thing that I really pay attention to just right off the bat, how many people are there? Is there what times do I have? And typically if it's going to be a big day and a long day, I sort of do a mini competition with the first 2 schools, right? And I do my ranking that way. I'm kind of a believer that what you write on those sheets, I remember being in solo and ensemble as a young person and just being so eager to read what was on the sheet rather than what number did I get on phrasing, or what number did I get on intonation, or what number did I get on breath support. How did I score there? I really try to score as quickly right off the bat if I know that a student is really gifted or really not gifted. And I always really do my best to not go below half. That's really important to me, to keep my scoring high. That's just me, because the most beautiful part about show choir is the development of the student as a musician and someone and how they're using singing to express themselves. That in the end, by the time they leave high school, the goal is that they just love music and they love making it. That is so, so important and such a cool part to me of show choir. And so I have high value in encouraging even maybe the most, a kid who can't even carry pitch, just leaving some comment about the courage that it took for them to prepare the song and sing in front of their peers. I almost never leave that out of my commentary. I think a lot about what home a kid is coming from, and that they may not hear encouraging words, but maybe once every month or once every 6 months, or maybe sadly even longer than that. And I want to be sure that I'm that person that makes them understand their courage to try this and put themselves out there. So that's important to me too. So anyway, and I'm really not great at this talking stuff, so you're going to hear a lot of ums and so's, and so apologize, because I'm really not a public speaker per se. But anyway, so then I do that. I kind of make sure I write. Writing is a huge part of it for me. I don't phone in my judging, again, because I really think some of these kids are battling emotional stuff that we didn't have to face in the 80s and 90s. Now you know how old I am. So I really try to leave a whole competition with kids feeling good about their risk that they took, whether they won or they didn't win. moving on. In that first 2 groups of schools, I sort of do my ranking around there. Okay, this is how I'm generally going to score. Sometimes if there's not half, like I can't do half, 9.5, 8.5, whatever. I look at the point spread so that I'm not going too high. It may force me to go below 5 if it's 0 to 10. It may force me to go below 5. But if that makes sense at all, I really try to, if I can, even just do half a point scoring just to give myself more spread, but not having to put 2s, 3s, 4s on the scoring sheet. Again, if I know that's what I have to do, I just be sure that I leave that encouraging comment to that student either way. And what a pleasure it was to hear them. The next thing I really focus on is, especially in solo comp, not solo within a show, is I will really look at preparation. Preparation is huge because it actually prepares them for all kinds of parts of their emotional development as they leave and they are wanting to pursue music seriously or they're wanting to pursue engineering. That preparation is everything on how to create young adults and adults. So if a kid comes and they're not ready or they haven't prepared, and you can tell it's not a nerves thing, but just a non-preparation, they just automatically kind of go out of the pile. I'll score them lower, especially for presentation and artistry, because that's a huge part for me of presenting yourself and taking the risk means that you do all of the legwork, because being a professional musician or being an engineer or being a teacher is all about, did you get your work done? Did you do what you needed to do before you came to this particular situation? That's a huge part for me. So anybody unprepared is kind of, even if they're really talented, it's an important lesson that I believe is a huge part of being a good judge and preparing them to be good singers. The other part that is, as I kind of weed out medium to low, performers, now we're in, like, let's say the top 20. One of the things I really focus on as well is, do they have an understanding of how to use a microphone? That is a huge part for both solo within a show, which I'll speak about in a second, and about solo comp. Are their mic skills good? And that is something that I really encourage all directors to create moments in your rehearsing, either your regular rehearsal, have a microphone, go out and listen, teach kids what it means to not scream into them, or if they're belting, what does that look like with the microphone, and really start to develop those skills for them, because that will also carry on. Even if they're going to do Broadway auditions, they're doing no microphone at all. But having that microphone, because it's such an integral part of the both solo and the show choir competition, is huge. So really focusing a lot on that as you get to your really good section of singers. How do they do with the mic? Again, and then what the school wants, again, as I look at the scoring sheet and I see what the school values and what they have on the sheet at the time and how they're ranking, I also really look at the way where the focus is on pedagogy. So I really want to hear if a student, like there's 10 students that are very similar, but one just used chest voice the whole time or just sang in their head voice. I really try to go, okay, are they using their head voice? Are they using their mixed voice? Are they using their chest voice? All 3 components, really, if the literature presents itself with all 3 of those, that's another determination. Sometimes that will actually be on a score sheet, but not very often. I'm talking kind of when you get to that place of like, okay, these kids are all really good. Looking at whether or not they have an understanding of the different registers of their voice. And are they using all of the registers? That really, for me as a judge, helps me weed out when things seem very even. The next thing that I really look at clearly is artistry. Do I feel something? And not just really, oh, I really like this song. I really have this thing with Sondheim in high schools. Like every judge comes with sort of their thing that they hate. And so it was so cool because Sondheim just feels hard for high schoolers, particularly in ensemble ballad settings. I'm like, oh, people are trying to, do Sondheim. It's too hard. But I love it when my own biases, I know that they're there. And so when I see a Sondheim song, I'm like, Heather, don't do it. Let it be. And this last time I heard a kid sing, the traditional, someone to hold me too close, someone to sit in my chair. I can't remember the name of that song. Sorry. Someone to, da, da, da. Anyway, the way this young man executed this song, I think I placed him third because the pure commitment to what he was singing was so moving to me. Again, if kids are really close vocally with pedagogy, meaning, okay, they are in tune, they have created phrasing, they have created great dynamics, they have shown good breath support, they have good resonance, it's not too bright, it's not too back, all of that. I really look at, does a kid understand what the song is saying, and are they communicating that? That's a huge part to me of kind of in that final category, determining what's happening with who's going to rank higher. I really try my best as well to see it to really kind of go against the bias of a student who clearly is trained. Maybe they've taken lessons and they've done lots of auditions. That skill set is wonderful to have. But again, I'm looking for a student who has picked repertoire that fits them, who I can feel that humanity where they are really believing what they're singing, not just sort of being taught what they should sing, but looking for that spark. Do you know what I'm saying? Where you can teach a kid to sing a Broadway tune or a show tune, or also being very in tune with recordings. I listen and watch a lot of current recordings and seeing that a student hasn't just redone something that Megan Hilty has sung from, the show Smash or whatever, but really have they created this and made this their own? That's a giant part of, as a judge, going, okay, this is a person who I can give first place to, and it's going to encourage them to move forward. They have clearly not just an ability to memorize how another famous performer has performed it, but made it their own. I really want to say this to all directors, that solo comp is so important because it is kind of a tryout for what auditions will be like, which involve a lot of making eye contact with your audience. So that's one part outside of judging the score sheet, that if things get really close, I tend to look at that. Are you communicating with the audience? Are you able to look me in the eyes? Are you connecting? I move my scores higher when I come into the performance section, in the communication of the song, in the lyric. The other part that so many directors forget to let their kids know about is bowing and acknowledging your audience and your accompanist. Huge part of auditions. Some auditions don't want you to bow, some do, but overall, as a performer, as a soloist, acknowledging that accompanist and then acknowledging that the audience took the time to listen to you, bowing, acknowledging them is something that is very important. If, again, I'm in this tight scoring, because many of you judging, you're musicians, you can judge these sheets, right? I really do my best to not be biased towards songs and composers I don't like, and I try not to be biased about songs and composers I do like. Sometimes when a solo comp happens for show choir and someone comes with a classical piece, I struggle with that because I don't know where to place them because the genre is so different. And so when the pedagogy, if the score sheet doesn't kind of, is it heavily pedagogically centered over, intonation, breath support, vowel placement, all of that. If that's not the most, it's difficult to have someone singing something very legit and classical, then when the rest of the score sheet talks about, are you telling the story? Are you artistically expressive? Have you let the audience, is the selection, does it work? So I do my best. And at the end of the day, the most important part, one more thing, microphone. So solo within a show, what I want to touch on briefly with solo within a show is the importance of, does that soloist, can they use the microphone? Is there distortion on it? I know you don't get lots of sound checks, but as a judge, that is a portion of how I determine a skill set of a student with solo within a show. Solo within a show means they're one part of the whole ensemble. Again, even as a vocal judge for large groups, I struggle with large groups that pick, their ballad. Their ballad is mostly a soloist, and I can't judge the vocals. Ballad is my time to really give a good choral vocal judge, a good vocal choral evaluation of how the students have done. And so it's really hard with those soloists when it's taken the whole show over. I want to be able to judge so with solo within a show, I try to really also look at, again, oftentimes we're just given, hey, pick the best soloist. What I do there is I really try to pick a soloist, because there are so many good ones, in which the whole show, they were involved in the ensemble as well when I'm judging solo within a show. Did their solo complement the group? Did the solo complement the story? Did the solo, even if they may not have, they can't do runs or they can't do riffs, I'm not as impressed by that as I am with solo within a show. How are you complementing the entire show, both with what you've spoken and how you're interacting, how you're singing and blending? Same with trios within a show. Are they able to really see themselves as a trio? Oftentimes, that's one of my main beefs with trios within a show or solos within a show. Are they coming as a trio and complementing one another, listening, being the mini ensemble soloists? So anyway, just some feedback, little things that I do. But again, I also look for that feel. I look for that group dynamic. Are they interacting with the other singers as they sing a solo within a show? That is all a part of this whole ensemble amazing magic that is show choir. There is nothing in the world like it. And nothing like when teamwork comes together with talent and artistry and excellent pedagogy. Man, what a cool moment that I've been blown away so many times, and so hate to use this word, but #blessed by the work of these students. So anyway, I will attach my information. I am available to judge. And I travel I live between here and Nashville, Tennessee, and working kind of all over the place, but I would love a chance to judge your show sometime and judge your students. But I hope that's helped you as judges a little bit to kind of give you an idea of how I go about things, is just making sure that whatever the school deems most important, I keep my brain on what that competition and the directors of that competition deem is important for solo comp. I also look at the soloists within a show and how they're complementing the ensemble, how they're interacting with the ensemble, and how number 3 is, how are they using that microphone, and are they, number 4, acknowledging their audience in solo comp when they're done. Those are just the general things. And then definitely just tire your hand out. It's okay. I usually actually bring my own pens to be able to write with my own pens that are easier. But just, man, filling that sheet out writing wise and just leaving a really encouraging note for that soloist, that they know I've heard them and that I acknowledge their bravery. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for stopping and listening to this little blurb. I will leave my contact information, and what an honor it is to be a part of this amazing world called show choir. Have a great one.